So before we get into all the news, today we have Polish authorities attempting to calm the population after what appears to be a Russian drone strike in a town called Osyni. It's about 100 kilometers into Poland. For Americans, that's about the distance between Philadelphia and New York City. And it's a pretty large explosion. It appears to be one of the Russian Shahed drones.
Chcieliśmy Państwa poinformować w pierwszej kolejności o tym, co najważniejsze. Po pierwsze, że nie było żadnych ofiar, nikt nie jest poszkodowany w sensie zdrowotnym, na szczęście. Uszkodzeniu uległy 3 pobliskie budynki w wyniku eksplozji niezidentyfikowanego obiektu, który spadł na ziemię niedaleko stąd, w polu kukurydzy. To, co również należy zaznaczyć, że wszyscy mogą czuć się na chwilę obecną bezpiecznie, nie ma na ten moment żadnego zagrożenia, zostało sprawdzone i zmierzone promieniowanie.
The result of all the coddling and quote negotiations and decades of appeasement, invitations to summits. The US president referring to Putin as His Excellency in Alaska. But it's clear that Putin is now testing to see if there's any sort of response. And most often there isn't. Azerbaijan had their biggest oil facility destroyed in Ukraine just 3 days ago. And that was after the president of Azerbaijan warned Putin not to strike their oil facilities in Ukraine. So only a week after that, their largest facility was destroyed, not with 5 drones or 10 drones, but with 15 Shahed drones targeted. It completely destroyed it, like hundreds of millions of dollars in. It's a huge facility, and oil, of course, that was destroyed. But Putin is now upping the game.
And the Polish government has just produced photos of the wreckage in Poland. For you drone experts out there, a comparative. They say it's a Shahed drone, kamikaze drone. It wasn't only with a new emboldened Putin. Putin didn't only go after Romania or Poland last night. The Russians decided to strike oil facilities right along the Romanian border. I wrote, Trump's coddling of Putin is producing the exact effect we expected last night, expanding strikes right on the Romanian border and 100 kilometers into Poland. Western fear is always Putin's most reliable ally. A drone strike like this normally takes about 20 Shaheds. It looks like, as you can hear in a second, there's, even after the facility's burning, more drones come in. And this is right up against the Romanian border. So Putin is now emboldened. He believes that he has carte blanche to do anything he wants. And as long as the West, as long as the US specifically continues making fake deadlines every 2 weeks and saying that they'll threatening sanctions that never come. I mean, why wouldn't he expand? Why wouldn't he go to war with everybody? I mean, there's no consequences. But it's all not bad news, folks. Here's the good news. Multiple regions across Russia are now affected as the country is gripped by the worsening fuel crisis. Queues up to 8 hours long in many areas as petrol stations run dry. Russian media reporting the issues have arisen only due to scheduled maintenance. I'll show you that article in a second from Kommersant. First, I'll show you the fuel lines. They're pretty awesome. This is a few different regions of Russia. Lines that are over 1 kilometer long now. And this guy says that people wait all day and then they get to the station and there's no gas. Benzina niet. Things are not going well in Putin's hellscape, folks. Here's another one. This guy here. Oh, open. What's with the swearing? They can't. It has to be a curse word every other word. It's like a Russian requirement. They don't let you out of school until. Anyway, this goes on for a while. It's like a kilometer-long line. There's another one.
Короче, на Альянсе вот такая обстановка. Чуть-чуть скоро до Грина не будет хватать.
Yeah, that's too bad. Alas, no gas. Genocidal war is no fun for anyone. Here's a Russian complaining in front of a gas station. He is not happy. I wonder if he protested like this when Russia decided to kill about 1 million people in the past 3.5 years. Yeah, who cares what he says? He complains and things are bad. Okay, yeah, feel bad for you, man. Anyway, here some things escalate to violence. Violence begins to break out in gas lines as Russians queue for hours across the country. Here's some Russians, and they fight over their position in line, waiting for a fill-up. Turns it into racism. It's funny. True Russian fashion. Funny. Okay. Yeah, so things are not good in Putin's hellscape. So how is the Russian government responding? Well, they've instructed their propaganda apparatus to put out articles like this one in Kommersant. I wrote, Russian government is now telling its servile slave population that the fuel shortages are caused by scheduled maintenance, not the fact that Ukraine has taken down 20% of the country's refining capacity in the past 2 weeks. The kicker here is this line: postponed scheduled maintenance at oil refineries has reduced the supply of gasoline on the market, causing wholesale prices on the exchange to skyrocket. To stop it, the government has imposed a complete ban on the gasoline exports and plans to adjust the fuel damper. But the market believes that until fuel production and supplies are increased, such situations will recur. Anyway, they'll recur tonight at about 3 a.m. when about 200 Ukrainian drones are bearing down on your oil refineries. And so it got so bad that they actually took the website for the St. Petersburg Mercantile Exchange offline, so you couldn't see the prices. Back to the USSR. It's incredible. I mean, you can go outside and see the prices, but maybe that's for a foreign audience. They think they can mitigate, the fallout that counteracts the Great Russia, Putin on a horse narrative. There's the St. Petersburg Mercantile Exchange. The fuel section is offline and cannot be reached. Yeah, things are not going well in Putin's hellscape, folks. And it's only getting worse. And it's not only a fuel crisis now. Humanitarian crisis continues spreading throughout Russia and Russian-occupied regions of Ukraine as all resources go into war efforts. Occupied by Russians for 11 years, most of Donetsk region has decayed to the point that of having no functional indoor plumbing. Water deliveries keeping the population just on the edge of survival. This is from Makiivka in Donetsk. So the Russians have been here for 11 years, and they can't figure out how to get water into apartment buildings. So they're just delivering these giant buckets of water, and people just, come out like they're giving away, vodka. And, this is, people are on the edge of survival here. And then there's another one that's empty. These two people are laughing about it. There's another bucket that's empty. No one's interested in that one. Yeah, and some of these buckets, it's unbelievable. It's just getting worse and worse. And why is it getting worse? Well, because of things like this. This is a pretty awesome clip, courtesy of Ukrainian Armed Forces. Russian fuel train finds Nirvana elevating to the astral plane in Ukraine's Zaporizhia region. This is a pretty awesome clip. Yesterday, Ukrainian forces took out a massive Russian fuel train with repeated drone strikes over, it looks like about an hour's time. And they had the courtesy to put it to music I had to block out because they'll demonetize me. So, but it's Enya. It's the Enya, of late 1980s New Age music fame. And it's perfect. I mean, like the drone floats in, strike after strike, and it is a massive fuel train. This is a train. It looks like it's heading toward the front to supply the military with gas. So it's not only the Russian population that is having difficulty with gasoline and diesel. It is now the Russian armed forces having a rough time. They usually move these by night. Anytime they move them by day, they're 100% destroyed. By night, they get through about 20% of the time. But yeah, this was a big risk. I don't know why they risked such a huge. And look at this thing; it's huge. Burning and burning. It's way better with the music, though, folks. I mean, you have to have maybe play it at home. Maybe you'll understand. It's that big Enya hit, the one that was on the radio every 10 minutes for like 4 years. If you had like a 50-year-old single uncle that was trying to woo the ladies at the office, it was Enya he was putting on. Anyway, so you remember. So yeah, so things aren't going well for the Russian gas situation. And it's only getting worse and worse. But got some more good news for you. So this new Flamingo missile that Ukraine has just launched into serial production has a range of 3,000 kilometers. This is a map showing the entire area. Russia's oil industry, the lifeblood of Putin's entire global terror binge, is now living on borrowed time. The range of Ukraine's new Flamingo missile system assures there will soon be no Putin regime. There will definitely not be a Russian oil industry after this. Airstrips. Anyway, this is the occupied area of Ukraine. This is Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus. This is the area that can be struck, that is now within range of the new Flamingo missile. I mean, look at this. You're talking Arctic Circle. I mean, and you wonder why Putin is talking negotiations and buying time. Yeah, anyway, so it's not all good news. So Russians are not happy, so they decided to murder some Ukrainian people, specifically families in Ukraine, yesterday. Murdered by Russians yesterday in Kharkiv, an entire family, grandmother, both parents, 15-year-old boy, 1.5-year-old baby girl. This was the family. The grandmother was visiting from another region, visiting these two beautiful kids, and Russians murdered them. They took 5 Shahed drones and poured them into this giant apartment complex in Kharkiv yesterday. Killed everyone you see in these pictures. And Ukraine is undergoing this every day in countless cities, dozens and dozens of cities, hundreds of towns. And this is the Russian world. This is the Russian world that that Europe is just hoping will just decide that they want to stop and they can go back to their cafe life and enjoy their cycling weekend and IKEA purchases while Ukraine just defends with their lives the continent. Yeah, dark days, folks. Anyway, so Lavrov, this is Putin's foreign minister, now says that Witkoff misunderstood him, and apparently Trump misunderstood him as well, that the, quote, security guarantees that Russia says that they would permit were security guarantees that actually included Russia as one of the guarantors. And Russia has already invited China to be one of those guarantors. That's the China that is using Russia as the battering ram to smash up the entire Western world, with hopes that eventually, once Russia smashes up the Western world, exhausts the West, and exhausts itself, and Russia has no military, China can then move in and take whatever choice gas fields and 20% of the world's total unfrozen water supply that lies in Russia's Lake Baikal. This is that China, and this is that Russia. And anyway, so today Lavrov is saying that it was misunderstood and that Russia will supply security guarantees. That's what the Istanbul 2022 nonsense was about, that they tried to cajole Ukraine into buying, that they would just give up. Luckily, that didn't happen, and it was never really entertained. But, it's incredible. The U.S., it seems like, doesn't remember what Russians are anymore. I think they're waking up slowly, though. At least my friends are. So Poland, a new poll out of Poland. Most Poles oppose Ukrainian concessions to Russia for peace because they clearly understand what Russia will do if they're given anything. They always come back. If you give them the hand, they will take the arm. They'll take. That's it. That's what Russians do. Survey by IBRIS Research Institute for the Polish Daily. Wow. Gespolita found that 50.5% of respondents opposed concessions, while 37.4% supported them. Yeah, no one even wants Ukraine to give up Crimea because they know that that will just merely be used, if it's ever legalized, as just more of a launching point than it already is for further attacks. Anything Ukraine gives up will be used as further tools for the Baltics and everything else that Russia has on its acquisition list. This is something I want to cover for you guys. This whole narrative that Ukraine can't get into NATO because this and that, nuclear Armageddon, don't provoke Russia. If you've been around for a while and you've seen how Russia operates, these are narratives that are well-worn. They've been used since the 1950s, unsuccessfully. That's what this article in Kyiv Insider is about today. I wanted to just go through some of it. It's really important. Russia's failed methods to keep Germany and the Baltics out of NATO, now used on Ukraine. Moscow's opposition to the nations on its acquisition list, finding refuge in NATO, has never been new or creative. It is a well-worn strategy dating back to the earliest days of the Cold War, and repeated each time a European democracy has sought to guarantee its security inside the Western alliance. The Soviet Union fought to prevent West Germany's NATO membership in the 1950s, tried again to block the Baltic states in the 1990s and early 2000s. And today, Russia is repeating the same formula against Ukraine. The difference is not in method, but in scale. The Kremlin now wields a global propaganda machine to amplify its threats. And that's key, is that when Russia was trying to keep NATO from protecting West Germany and eventually East Germany, whole of Germany, and the Baltics, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, they didn't have a global propaganda machine that was so, like the size of it probably rivals every U.S. multinational media corp combined at this point. You don't believe me, just go and reply, say something bad about Putin in the comments section or of any article or Twitter, or it's troll factories. It's a very reactive system, not only their own documentaries. In 1955, Moscow warned that West Germany's entry into NATO would trigger measures from the Soviet Union, framing membership as a direct threat to its survival. The same language returned decades later against Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, when Russia branded NATO enlargement in the Baltics as a red line and staged military exercises to underscore the point. Today, those warnings are echoed almost word for word regarding Ukraine, with Moscow threatening troop deployments and nuclear escalation if Kyiv is ever granted NATO protections. And it goes into propaganda methods that were used and all the same stuff that they're doing now. And it's so bad that, honestly, it was former Chancellor Scholz. He was the previous chancellor. He's only been out of office, I think, like 3 months now. He was such a diehard believer in all the Russian propaganda. In the 1980s, he organized protests against NATO and against NATO putting long-range missiles in West Germany to protect it against Russian aggression, because Russia had threatened that they would nuke everyone if West Germany got any sort of protection. They did the same thing when when Poland was supposed to get missiles back in the early 2000s. I mean, this is what Russia does. And it's only now that it's become so much more effective because Russia has this propaganda machine that's just incredible. So remember, when you hear these propaganda tropes about Ukraine's entry into NATO being the end of the world, you can tell your friends the real story, and that Russia has been using this garbage for decades and decades, and it didn't work back then. Even when Russia had a military, before Ukraine spent 3.5 years destroying 70 years of stockpiled military gear, it didn't work back then when the USSR was 14% of global GDP, and it's not going to work now that Russia is 1.8% of global GDP, without a military, losing a refinery every 2 days, a spiraling economy. You know, the world just needs to wake up because it's BS, folks. Okay, have a good day.